Hello, everyone. I've got a topic I need to talk about. Last week on Friday, I had a guest, Jerry Perper, on my show, and we talked about a lot of issues with his case for medical malpractice that happened to his daughter 20 years ago. And during our conversation, he brought up a law colloquially named the Florida Free Kill Law. The basic and most essential part of this law is if you are in the hospital seeing a medical practitioner and they fail you and make mistakes in your care and you end up dying, your friends, no, not your friends, your family, unless they are either your direct spouse or a minor child under the age of 25, cannot take any legal action against the hospital or the medical professionals who treated you. So what this does is it creates what is known here as a free kill. Someone who the hospital can accidentally or on purposely kill or mistreat, and there's no way to get back at them whatsoever. No recompense you can take in a legal sense due to this law. According to the research that I did into it, and I'll be the first one to admit that I didn't do an in-depth look. I did a pretty surface level, just going through some articles and reading up on it just a little bit. I found that this law was originally intended in 1990 as a way to stop and prevent medical professions from leaving Florida during a massive wave of suits for medical malpractice. As a way to protect the doctors. Well, it seems like in an effort to protect the medical professionals, instead our legislature has instead caused the people to lose their rights in terms of safety inside of a hospital. There is no incentive to prevent these people from accidentally or even on purpose ending someone's life through negligence, malice, or any other terms that apply here. I think it's time that we start holding people accountable again. If you're working in this field and you have literal people's lives on the line, you should not be incentivized or not have to work. You should, how am I going to phrase this? You should have to worry about what you're doing when you're working on these people. You should be afraid of making a mistake. What this law basically incentivizes is carelessness, in a sense of it, right? If there is no punishment for you making a mistake, are you going to be more likely to make a mistake or less likely? Do you care about making mistakes if you can't be held accountable for it? Should we let our medical professionals just, oh, I made a mistake, I guess that person died. Oh well. We should be holding people accountable for their actions. You're working in this life and death kind of situation. And when you mess up, you mess up. It's not like a small feat. It's a pretty big deal. And there should be recourse for people who lose loved ones in this situation. In any situation. It shouldn't be some minor kid or a spouse. Are you kidding me? I'm 23 right now. And in 2 to 3 years, if I'm not married, no one's going to be able to take recompense if I get killed in a hospital through malpractice or accident. The lack of accountability in hospitals in Florida, I can only assume, has been quite devastating during the coronavirus over the past year. We weren't hit as hard as some of the other states, thankfully, even with our elderly population. But the point still stands. We have a massive elderly population. I mean, the town I live in right now, I think about a third to maybe 1/4 of our industry is medical. That's a lot of people coming through here, going to hospitals, getting treatment. How many of them have been treated poorly or had wrongful practices or procedures done on them? And what? Their families couldn't do anything about it? A friend of my family's recently contracted coronavirus, right? And he went to the hospital. And I think he's been there for about a month now, because the hospital that initially took him in refused to give him any kind of treatment, from what I was told. They were pretty much convinced that he was just going to die, and they were entirely there to just make him comfortable. The wife of the husband, or of this friend, had to fight tooth and nail just to get him moved and to get him on medication so that he could start to recover, which thankfully he is now. He still has a ventilator and he's still on a watch list, but he is on the track to recovery. But the hospital was just going to let him die. In this case, he technically wasn't a free kill, as he does have kids who are under the age of 25 and a wife. But say, for example, you have a grandparent who's single, widowed, or just living alone, like my grandmother. I have a grandmother who we lost her husband about 3 years ago now. If she went to the hospital for any issue and they caused her harm or she ended up dying, there is nothing we could do about it. We would have no recompense, no sue. The only thing we could potentially get out of it is covering the cost of the funeral. How is that fair in any way? How is it our legal system doesn't have any protections for people who are vulnerable going to the hospital? How is it if a family member dies in Florida in the hospital and you are not the spouse or underage child, minor child under the age of 25, you can't even request and acquire exactly how they died, what went wrong, what doctor messed it up? These are things that you can't find in Florida if your loved one dies in the care of the hospital. How is this allowed to exist in our country, just in our state? Because the truth is, this law isn't just in Florida. There's other states that have it. I don't know how many of them. I was informed that California and New York definitely have some form of this law in their state. And I would implore you to look into it yourself and get in contact with your representatives to see if there's some way to start getting this kind of thing removed, because there needs to be accountability in our system. If we don't have accountability, then how can we trust the people who are working on us? In a time where there's very little trust going around for anyone, police, medical professions, politicians, there's very little. People in the day-to-day lives don't seem to trust each other. How can you go into a hospital and trust that your family members or even yourself are going to be taken care of properly if there's no accountability for any kind of action that happens in there? I want you guys to think about this, because I've certainly been thinking about it over the past 3 days, and it's kind of a scary thing to think about. Anyways, if you guys enjoyed what I had to say or were even informed in any way, please do subscribe to the channel and leave a comment and like the video. I look forward to reading any comments I get from anybody, and I'm always looking for feedback. I'm here to try and help people learn about things and discuss ideas, and I'm hopefully going to continue to do that, because I think we need people to start telling the truth and informing others. So like I said, like the video, subscribe, and stay tuned. I've got another podcast coming tomorrow at 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Zeneration Nation channel. Thank you for watching.